Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I was about to say good morning, but then I realized it's Wednesday in Australia and Tuesday all the way in Colorado, close to Boulder, where I'm welcoming Andrea Fryrear to the show. Welcome, Andrea.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you here. Right in the thick of winter, and you're in the beautiful summer of Colorado. I can just picture it right now. Gosh, I love that place. Thank you for joining the show. I'm pretty thrilled to have you on board, and I'm super thrilled, I should say, in terms of the fact that you're a globally recognized authority on agile marketing, and you're the co-founder of Agile Sherpas, and you're coming into your eighth year, which is super impressive. And it's a consultancy dedicated to transforming marketing teams through agile frameworks and human first leadership. You've got a background in content strategy and you have this fierce and this, I love the word fierce, belief in organizational transparency. And Andrea, you help teams, by the sounds of things, move from rigid processes to adaptive, honest, and sustainable ways of working. And what I also like to call that non-linear. And then you and I were just talking before about the agile visual descriptor. But your work combines operational excellence with radical candor to create cultures of resilience. Tell us about your journey. Like it sounds like you've almost been a pioneer in agile marketing. And again, I was just saying before the show, like agile's been around for quite some time, but it's almost like it's coming back again in terms of it's so required right now in the world and what we're doing. But it sounds like you were there at the very, very start of it when everyone was like, what is this word? What is that? Like that, the buzzword, almost like when, not as big as AI as such, but like almost like, what are we talking about here? So yeah, over to you. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, that was very much how it was when I first stumbled upon agile marketing. It was very, what is that? Is that a thing? Should that be a thing? Why would we want that? It's over a decade ago now that I first kind of Googled that word for the first time and didn't really find anything. Nobody was really talking about it very much. And I'm a content strategist and a content marketer. And so I started kind of going on this journey of exploration to try to figure out what it could be and what it should be because I was working at a software company in their marketing department at the time and I was seeing their software development team like release fast and go home on time and be really respected for their ability to deliver features when they said they would. And then marketing was not having that experience at all. And so I wanted to find a way to bring us into that way of working, but it was clear that we're not exactly like software developers. And so we needed some translation. So I got my Scrum Master certification, I got my product owner certification, and then I just started writing and speaking about what we were doing and what worked for us and what didn't work for us. And God bless my team back then. Like I just experimented on them and they were game and we did all these crazy stuff trying to figure out what would work. And over time, people started reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, this is really cool. Could you help me do what you did with your team?" And eventually, enough people asked me that I left and started a company to just be consultants and help other marketers. But it was really an accident at the time. I didn't intend to start a multi-million dollar global business. That was not the plan. But a lot of people needed our help, and so that's what I ended up doing. And now we have a team, and we work all over the world. And it's been a really fascinating and difficult but rewarding 8 years so far.
Wow, that is huge. Like a multi-million-dollar company and, stumbled into it by accident, just by being curious and exploring, what another team was doing. You were like, oh, how come they're getting to go home? Because it's so true. We've been ingrained in that, we work ridiculous hours. And what is this? Like they're actually going home at a normal time. They seem really probably chilled, like happy, and yet we're all just, for so long being scrambling. What was
Yeah.
it? What moment did you think, oh, I'm onto something here. I'm going to quit my job and start my own business? Like, was there like an actual moment where you were just like, okay.
There was a piece of software, a project management tool at the time that flew me out to their headquarters so that I could advise them on their product roadmap for Agile in marketing. And that was the point I was like, oh, this feels like a bigger deal than maybe I was giving it credit for. Like, this big tech tool wants to talk to me and they value my opinion. Like, maybe my opinion actually matters and maybe I could do something bigger with this than just write a little blog about it.
Yeah, how cool. How cool. And so how did the company then start? So are you a co-founder? Is it your company? Are you with somebody else in the business? Like,
Yeah, so I had a co-founder. I've actually just finished buying him out. So we were together for a good long time. But interestingly, he came from a like training background. So he had this idea to really formalize what I had been doing in a bit more of like an ad hoc way. And so I didn't know him at all. It was totally kind of serendipitous. He just reached out to me because I was talking and on LinkedIn and speaking about everything and let everybody know when I left my real job to start the business. And he just reached out to me and said, hey, I think this is really cool. I think I could add value by kind of showing you how to productize and turn it into a more packaged deal. And so he kept his job and like worked nights and weekends and I did all the client facing fly around the country stuff. And yeah, so we started it together. And then over time, people go their separate ways. And so like I said, just kind of finished buying him out. So I have a majority stake in the business now, and it's a whole new chapter.
yeah, is that scary or is that exciting for you? Or
It depends on which day you're asking. Yeah, so today it's exciting, but then there's some days, right, where you're like, what have I done? This is a crazy thing to have done. But no, ultimately, like I said, I didn't intend to be an entrepreneur, but now I'm really hooked on it. I could never work for anybody again. And so working for myself and having control over what happens with the business, is really important to me. So whatever happens, I'm really glad right now that I did take control.
yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you working in the agile space, and I'd love to talk a little bit about this in terms of what you're seeing in organizations. Like, there's been so much change in the last few years since COVID, etc. It's almost like there's two things going on, right? You're going in and you're consulting with all these different companies, training them on agile. But then it's almost like your business is also going again, like not going again, but you know what I mean? It's like it's almost pivoting in a way where it's going agile in a different way. So tell us what you're seeing in organizations and what you're seeing is the biggest, like, has do you still think that there is a lot of work to be done in terms of organizational efficiency, optimization, being able to go home early, so to speak, or go home at a normal time? Like, what are you seeing? Like, you've been doing this intensively for the last 8 years. What's changed
Uh,
and almost what hasn't changed in a way?
you know, in a lot of ways, nothing's changed, especially at these big global enterprises, which is where we spend a lot of our time. Um, just because there's so much churn, especially at like kind of upper management level. If you have a champion there who's like, we're going to be efficient, we're going to be agile, we're going to do all of this stuff, and then they move on or they get transferred or they leave, that sort of initiative can really lose steam really quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and then, right, it's on to the next thing, and some of those gains will be lost. You always keep a little bit, but some of them are lost. And so I do think that bigger organizations need to find a way to embed this kind of agility into their DNA in a much more permanent and effective way, or they just keep cycling through
Yeah.
consultants, right? Like
Yeah.
it's us, and then it's McKinsey, and then it's somebody else, right? And we're really trying to rethink how we serve our customers to try to create the ability for them to have something that we leave behind that is embedded with them permanently. It's like we've trained a Sherpa bot, right? Which is, yeah. So yeah, we're trying to create like a leave behind version of us that's an AI clone in a lot of ways so that people can keep access to us and what we've taught without having to keep paying us. And I think getting creative about how we serve clients and what Agile could and should mean day to day. I think those are ways that it stays relevant,
Yeah.
uh, and remains like the operating system, right? Not this thing that one leader comes in and imposes, but just the way that we work. And
Yeah.
that's how we have to be. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't possibly respond to all the AI change, right, and the speed at which things are moving right now if you don't have real agility like baked into your DNA.
It's so true. And has AI, like, has that changed, has that reshaped your business much in terms of like what you're doing with AI and the agile, like the whole agile piece around it? Like, have you had to, like, because it's come out so fast and, it's like everyone's jumping on board, but they're sort of, but then companies aren't necessarily, because there's this almost like this, what are we doing with this? But if you had to then also stop and go, all right, well, how does our business evolve as part of, or how do we build or bake in AI into what we're doing as well?
Yeah, we deliberately kind of stayed out of the fray for a while because I didn't want to be one of these like, oh yes, we do AI, us too, us too.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be meaningful if we were gonna come into the conversation. So really it was like Q1 or 2 of this year that I kind of started to realize that AI doesn't work if you have huge bottlenecks in your process, right? Like if you're just making the whole train go faster, but there's no bridge and you're just going to drive off the cliff sooner, then it's not helping. And that's process and that's operations and that's what we do. So I feel like we have a lot of value to add. And so we've really started kind of deliberately coming in and saying, okay, you need to operationalize AI rollouts, right? And this can't just be IT parachuting in and doing all this stuff and then parachuting out. You have to change the way you work. AI is like new teammates, right? And they're new teams, and that means you got to change the way that you work together. And we have expertise in all that. We can really help. So now I feel like we have a good point of view, and it's meaningful for us to be in the conversation.
Hmm.
But we've also done a huge amount internally. We're a really small team, right? We're less than 10 full-time employees, and so
Wow.
AI lets us punch above our weight class big time and helps us do more and be more efficient. And that's really exciting. We can do a lot of things that used to be out of our reach because we were small and have a small team budget.
Yeah, that's incredible that you've only got like you've got an agile team, like you've got a small team of 10. I mean the theory is, right? The more you grow, you put more people on, but really in reality, the more people you put on, quite often you're more inefficient. You would
Yeah.
know this in terms of, so like it's like, are you putting more people on because you need to, or is it that just because you're do you know what I mean? Like I think that quite often we
Yeah.
have that we add because we think that that's going to address the problem. It's that whole
Yeah.
cognitive piece. But actually, what about if we just subtracted and looked at everything in reality? In terms of, I guess, marketing in its totality, do you think there's a big way to go with, I guess, like when you say things have changed but not necessarily have changed, what's kind of, and I know it's the bigger organizations, but do you think it's also then mindset? Do you think it's individuals? Do you think it's leaders that are actually causing nothing to have changed? Like what actually is the block? What do you think is preventing the fundamental like change into almost like the new world order, if you like?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I do think you're right on it. Like we've in the agile space, we spend a lot of time focused on the team as a unit and how do they work together and what are the cycles of work that the team needs to go through. But I think in order to really embed it permanently, it does have to be an individual practice, and every person on that team has to be committed to agile as a way of thinking, as a way of acting, and as a core value, right? Like I value releasing work often. I value customer centricity. I value delivering an outcome and not just doing a bunch of activities, right? And leaders have to be that same way. Like I will protect my team from interruptions because I believe that they should have focus and that they're more effective when they can focus. So I will shield them from interruptions from the rest of the organization. And again, we're really trying to get creative about how we serve our clients on those ends of the spectrum and not just as a team, because you can change a team, but a team isn't forever, right? They're going to break up eventually.
Yeah.
And so if you can have that embedded in the humans who are then going to go be on other teams, right? You get this kind of viral thing going on that isn't always possible when you're just focused on the team as a unit.
Yeah, so true. It's so true. Talk to me about difficult. Talk to me about and when you booked in to do the pod, the question, I ask everyone the question, and it was, it's like, what's that insight around life, leadership, and business? And you said hard things just get harder if you ignore them, which says to me difficult, like, like the good old difficult word. You can do a kind of hard thing now, or you can deal with it when it's become a really, in capital letters, a really hard thing later. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's a lesson that I had to learn many times over running the business. And I'll say it has to do with clients, right? Like we would have clients who early on you get this inkling, right? That this is maybe not going to be a great client relationship, but maybe it'll get better, right? And so you don't have the difficult conversation. You hope that somehow things will change. I've had it with people, right? Like, ooh, that feels like a red flag in that person, but maybe it's not, and maybe it'll go away. Or in even in our financials, right? Like, ooh, the forecasted revenue and forecasted costs seem to be kind of far off, but maybe some big deal will fall out of the sky and make it all better.
Chestnut.
Yeah, and the longer you wait to address those things, the worse it is, right? And so the bias toward action when it's a little hard, I find saves me a lot of pain down the road, even though it's easy. It's so easy to postpone it and talk yourself out of it. And there's so many reasons, like very reasonable reasons, to not do it now. But I'm trying not to have to be taught that lesson again and to act when it's only a little bit hard.
And is that something you've picked up since being an entrepreneur? Or is it always something that you've always,
Yeah, definitely an entrepreneur lesson. And at this point it's hard to remember non-entrepreneur Andrea. Um, Even though that's probably still almost a majority of my career was
yeah,
non-entrepreneur. But yeah, like running a business, I think puts you in a crucible and makes you like change and learn and grow really, really fast.
yeah,
Or you don't make it.
yeah, especially totally. Like you're so right. Like you have those difficult days, and the difficult can last quite a while, like when you're working through something difficult. And that's when like we quite often have this tendency to avoid it, right? But it's the same with what you're doing in terms of agile in businesses. Like, there's always this like when things get tough or when things get hard or when things get difficult, we generally have this tendency to avoid it or ignore it or what I call resist it. When actually, what if we just, it comes back to fierce, right? What if we just broke through? What if we broke through the resistance? What if we broke through the fear? It's never as bad as it seems. Like it's like, and you kind of go, oh, that's nowhere near. Because it's what you've created in your head. It's what you created, the story you created. That is now you're like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Or like you're sitting around and it becomes procrastination where you're just waiting for something to happen, but yet nothing changes unless, something changes if something changes. Or what's the saying? Nothing changes if nothing changes, right? And this
Yeah.
is what we're
Yeah.
talking about here. Like, so then what do you see as the biggest opportunities right now in business, in marketing, basically with everything that has been going on in the world post COVID? Like, what do you see are as the top three biggest opportunities?
I think that the fixation on efficiency and productivity is actually a great Trojan horse in a lot of ways to get better ways of working into businesses and organizations. Because senior leaders will say they want efficiency and they want productivity, but the secret way to get that is focus, right? And allowing people to focus on just a few things and not jump around to 25 different priorities throughout the day. Then you get nothing done, right? Because your hours split into 25 pieces, not two, right? So you make no progress. And so if we can use the fixation on productivity and efficiency to like get this kind of fixation on focus into people's lives, it makes everybody everybody's day's better, everybody's
Oh,
more
yeah.
engaged and satisfied, yeah, happier. So I think that's a huge opportunity right now. And Agile has been kind of on a downswing overall. Like people have sort of been jaded and kind of turned
Yeah.
off by it for a while. But I think AI is a great moment for it to come back because, as I was saying, things move so fast, there's so much uncertainty, and that's what Agile was built to solve for initially. Like we couldn't build software, we just didn't know far
Yeah.
enough out what we would need. And so that's where Agile came from. And now we're all in that boat. We just don't know what things are going to be like. So we need these processes to come back. So from my business's perspective, I think it's a huge opportunity for us to really like grab some additional market share and be even more relevant. And same thing with marketing. Like there's so much commoditization of marketing activities right now. Like, let's just crank out 100,000 blog posts this year, right? Because AI can do it in a day, right? But what if we did not do that, right? What if we did bespoke, human written, like differentiated content and events and touch points that matter and are clearly not mass produced by an AI? Then we can stand out. So I think marketing has an
I
opportunity.
agree. Oh my
We
God,
should
it's
still
so,
leverage AI. I'm
yeah.
not saying we shouldn't use it. I use it every day. But like use it strategically and use it to augment and extend yourself, but not to replace what marketing is there for.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Like you only have to go on like social channels now and the content you're seeing and it's just like it's
Ugh.
so bad. Like I mean, all of, like emojis full stop. Like I use them sometimes, but like when AI's written out the big hyphen, the hyphen's not even like an actual hyphen on the keyboard. It's like this new created hyphen. It's like what? And it's just like it's so inauthentic. It's not. And you know what? Like for me, it's when it's mass, it's not even that efficient either because you almost overwhelm yourself with that much like mass populated, 100 articles or whatever.
Yeah.
You almost get yourself confused because you're just letting it take over and then it's just writing, but you've got to check things. But like it's, I don't know, I just find it, yeah, I think you have to use it super strategically. And I think that if we can bring more being fixated on, like you say, being focused and being more efficient, more optimized, it gives us the ability and the opportunity to apply more critical thinking and be able to apply more of that, humanness across everything we do. And like you say, be more bespoke, stand out. I think there's a real opportunity there at this point in time to be able to not go down the rabbit hole of being like everyone else and how everyone else is using AI. Use AI to, like you say, optimize, but also then have the ability to be able to stand out and really craft and create stories or events or whatever that that are different than the versus just the status quo. That's my biggest worry. That's not my biggest worry, but it's a worry of mine where it's just like everything is just going to become mass. Like we're losing our personalities almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's gonna swing back. I think we'll see this for a while and then somebody will be like, "Hey," and then it'll be a human voice and people will be like, "That's amazing. Who ever thought of that?" And they'll be a genius and make $1 billion, but it'll just be what we've all been doing before AI could write anything for us.
Yeah. Tell me, Agile Sherpas. How did you come up with the name Agile Sherpas?
Oh, it's the mountains here in Colorado, right? So I live right next to the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And so we are agile, right? And we train people on agile. And so we wanted to also evoke that sense of also climbing with people, right? A Sherpa doesn't just put a backpack on you and send you up the mountain. They're with you and they're helping you make it to the top. And so we wanted that collaborative spirit to be in the name as
Oh, I
well.
love it because yeah, it does feel like it's like a guide. It's someone like like with you. It's such a great brand name. Couple more questions. What would you say is the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
Hmm. I think that it's knowing ultimately it's on you. right? Like you can ask people's opinions and you can read books and listen to podcasts and ask AI and ask your mentors and everything. But ultimately, like the decision is yours. And if it's good, you get all the credit. And if it's bad, you're going to get all the blame. I think that's the hardest thing. It's also one of the greatest things. Like I really like the ability to steer the ship most of the time. But then, you get the like 3 a.m. wake up in a cold sweat days as well. So they go hand in hand, but I think that's pretty rough sometimes.
Yeah, when you're just like you're always on. Like, because I was about to say to you, how do you switch off? Like, how do you make sure that you're going in and you're working with all these different companies, but how do you then also have the ability to be able to, yeah, actively recover, switch off yourself?
I've learned that I have to do pretty complicated things for my hobbies because otherwise I will always be thinking about work. And so right now I'm drumming. I'm learning to drum,
Oh, how
which
cool.
is
How
very
cool.
difficult, is very hard. And so I have to be totally focused when I'm at my lessons or when I'm practicing. I can't think about anything else. And so it's great because then it's completely gone. Work is gone from my brain for a good long while. And then the other one is boxing. Because again, you will get punched in the face if you are not paying attention. So that one is very good incentive to pay attention.
That's a good way. Like, sounds like you need like high energy activities, which is awesome. And then leadership. What do you like if when we think about human first leadership, what does that mean? Like what does that mean like in terms of human first leadership, not just now, but what does it mean for the future of leadership?
I think it means like relating to people as a human first, right? Like I've had people bring up difficult topics with me that were unexpected. Like we were supposed to be talking about this project, and then right at the tail end of a meeting, right, they're like, "Oh, I have this difficult question for you." And I'll tell them like I'm taking my CEO hat off right now and I'm just talking to you as like your friend who cares about you or just a person who wants the best for you. So I'm going to answer in that way, even if maybe like CEO Andrea probably shouldn't be saying this to you. And not always, right? Unfortunately, there's times when as a CEO you can't be 100% transparent with your employees about things. But whenever you can, I think leaning into that and thinking about how you'd like to be communicated with in that moment,
Yeah.
it's hard to go too far wrong if you think about that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Andrea, thank you so much. I've like really enjoyed. There's so much to unpack and continue. We could keep talking, but I'm conscious that it's probably what time is it in Colorado? I didn't even think. Is it like 5 o'clock?
It's getting to be happy hour over here.
Yeah, so I thought, well, I better let you better let you go, and it's time for a coffee for me. I haven't had my first coffee yet, but how do we find out more about Agile Sherpas through your website?
Yep, agileSherpas.com. We have a ton of free resources on there, free courses, free content. So if there's anything you want to dig into that we've talked about, and I have a weird last name, so Andrea Fryrear on LinkedIn is very easy to find if you
Yeah.
want to connect with me there.
I don't think it's a weird surname. I think it's a great surname. It's easy to pronounce and easy to remember.
It's easy to get the domain name and the Gmail address. Nobody else out there is trying to get it.
Yeah,
So
I love it. I love it. Well, I'll let you head off to happy hour, but thank you so much for coming on the show and wishing you all the success of the next, gosh, 8+ years. I should have asked you that. Where do you see Agile Sherpas going? Like, one last quick question. Where do you see it? Do you think would you ever sell it? Like, do you think that you'll,
I think I'll sell it someday. Yeah. It's been great, but I have my entrepreneur brain now won't shut up and I have other things that I want to do. And so I love it. It's like my first child, like I will always love it. But I'd love to find good hands to leave it in and I'll go off and do something else.
have your next baby? Go and have your
That's
next
right.
little. I love it. Good on you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've really enjoyed our chat and our conversation, and wishing you all the best.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.